Uh, I figured it's maybe time to liven up this little crowd. I feel like standing up here. I feel like at a preacher at a funeral. So let us all pray. No, just kidding. Uh, but I did want to say good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the audience, which is just life. Okay. I wanted to get on because I do have my dog here, and I don't want to keep her up too late. Poor little thing needs her sleep. Uh, so I'm good. So I jumped in, and I too was in the Navy. This is a tough act to follow because I was on about 5 different carriers for short time, and I can't remember the names of any of them. But anyway, I enlisted in the Navy when I was 17 in 1942, and I got out of the Navy, and well, the war was over in 45. I got out in 46. Looked up a girl I knew from junior high school and married her. This 14th of this month, we will have been married 69 years. Is that amazing? And I tell people I deserve a medal for that. But anyway, anyway, I was in the Navy, and I didn't really accomplish anything. I look back and I'm thinking, what the hell did I do to make us win this war? And I figured, well, not a heck of a lot. I was the one sailor that broke the camel's back, so to speak. That they were up to the time I enlisted, we were losing, and by that time, we started winning a couple of battles. So, be that as it may, I was a photographer in the Navy. I was in Naval Air. I was a Naval Air photographer. My rating was a photographer's mate 2nd class, which means I had the crow and 2 red stripes. I was so damn proud of that. I couldn't believe it. I was only 18, and I was already a 2nd class petty officer. Yeah, you know. And but it was a lot of look. I think back, and it was probably 4 years of the most fun I ever had in my life, except for a couple of times all the scary stuff, which we won't get into. But what I am kind of proud of, and that is, I was involved in the flag raising of Iwo Jima in kind of an oblique way. And I'll tell you why. Because I was one of a team of 7 photographers that was working at the Naval Air Photo Lab on Guam. And when Joe Rosenthal came in, before he was even famous as Joe Rosenthal, he was just another war correspondent photographer. But he did take the pictures of the flag raising, and I think a lot of people were interested in see what kind of pictures he got, because it was, if you know, it was the 2nd flag raising. The first one had a little tiny flag, and so one of the admirals out in the fleet said, no, they need a bigger flag, so he donated the biggest flag they had that they used for going into strange ports and such. Well, anyway, the guy that took the original picture was another war correspondent, and he went off chasing after the Japs, and unfortunately he was killed. And he never, I don't know his name, but I'm sure there are a few people that do. But anyway, Joe Rosenthal happened to be there when they raised the 2nd flag. So he went up with them and took, I believe, a series of pictures of the flag raising, different things, and one was struck gold because it was the picture that we all familiar with. Okay, we processed. Joe Rosenthal was waiting in our photo lab when I was. Pardon?
The microphone a little closer to your mouth, please.
Okay. Where was I? Yeah, Joe Rosenthal was out in the lobby, and we were processing his his film, and when we came to that one, I think, as I recall, it was a series of pictures. But when we came to that one, and we were printing it on 8x10 black and white prints, he fellow named Madsen. He was a photographer mate, first class, and he picked up this picture it just came out of the developer, and he said, "Wow!" He said, "Look at this. He's ever seen a more beautifully balanced picture?" He said, "Look the way the flag is and the guys." And honest to God, this is true. He said, "You know what? This picture may become famous someday." How about that for nailing it? So we had Joe Rosenthal waiting out in the lobby for this, and before there's a little preparation to get everything ready for processing. And one of the guys asked me, he says, "There's a big-time war correspondent out there in the lobby. Would you like to meet him?" And I said, "Oh, hell no." I was afraid he'd ask me something, and I didn't know anything. I was just a kid. And so I'm probably one of the few people that ever refused to shake Joe Rosenthal's hand. I didn't know who he was then. But anyway, we processed this film. And then the photomate first class, he says, "Rod," he says, "take this into one of the other developing processing rooms." He says, "and run off a set of pictures for us." He says, "Make it 4x5, and let's say 3 each." So there was 7 of us, and plus captain and sergeant and or chief, and a couple other things. So we made I made a complete set of 3 for all these people. Mine, I took, of my 3, I mailed 1 to my girlfriend, who later on became my wife, and then the other one I gave to my mother, and by the time I wanted to get check out her copy, she was deceased. But anyway, my wife remembers getting the picture that I printed, and she says she showed it to some of her friends, and one of them borrowed it, and that was the end of it. She never saw it again. But I kept mine, and when things started, well, when the action started really getting developed around Rosenthal's marvelous picture, I dug mine out, made sure that I had it. Indeed, I did. A nice 4x5, and I didn't do anything about it until just recently. I made copies of it, and now with this digital type processing, the copies were about as true to the original as they could possibly be. I have my original that I got, and it's home in a very protected place. But I did make a copy of it, and I brought it along. I'll show it to you. Would you mind opening it out of the bag? It's framed. So once you hold it up, this is a copy of the original photograph, and I captioned it to a certain set. So put it around where I can read that. It says, "This flag photo was developed and printed at the Naval Air Base Photography Lab on Guam, February 24th, 1945. Joe Rosenthal was waiting in the photo lab laboratory when we 7 guys did the printing on 8x10 photo paper. We made an extra set of 4x5 prints for each of us. I sent one to my mother, next to my girlfriend, now wife Margaret, and the negative and 8x10 prints were given to Joe Rosenthal." Now turn it over a little bit more on that. This is a picture of the guys in our photo lab, and there's a picture of me with a speed graphic camera, and another one when I've got my crow and 2 stripes. But anyway, show the picture again. It's quite remarkable to have a copy and be there to have made that copy before Joe Rosenthal even saw it. So that's my little claim to fame. Not Not quite like this gentleman here, but